From blueprints to bliss, let's get popping on Planco Playbook. Warning, this video may cause uncontrollable urges to build theme parks. Well, today, folks, we're building a nice, basic, colorful entrance for your theme park. You can use this any way you want, of course, as always. And if you would like to change anything, it is fully editable as always. This will be in the blueprints. I'm sorry, I can't think of my words today. This will be in the Planet Coaster 2 workshop on Frontier. There is a link, not a link in the description, there is a share code in the description. And you can use that along with other creations that I've made. I have a coffee shop in there and all kinds of cool things. So go check it out. And feel free to download anything you would like, use them any way you would like in your parks, customize them, make them better, make them your own, as always. So here we go, we're building this entrance. I decided to go with something relatively simple, yet very, very colorful. And I included the pathway underneath. And as you'll see toward the end of the video, I included a few other things. So keep watching as we get to it, and you'll see what I've put in there for you. So I decided to go kind of contemporary, kind of modern, but kind of playful at the same time. So we're going to use a lot of bright colors and make this look really, really cool. This should fit pretty much any theme park. Of course, you know, there are some theme parks that have more themed entrances like Western or Aquatic, or, you know, the Greek or mythology themes that we've seen in Planet Coaster 2. But here, I made one that fits pretty much any overall theme park, and of course, like I said, just customize it and make it whatever you'd like it to be. So I decided to go with this big arch theme and wanted to go with some geometric shapes here that would be easy to just add a lot of color to and just kind of make it look like something that anybody could use. So took a couple of the triangle shapes here and scaled them to the size that I wanted. And we'll recolor these later. I went through a couple of different color palettes, and as you may remember from a previous video that I did, later on we'll get into color palettes and complementary colors and how colors work together. And you'll see as I go through this a couple of different color palettes that I tried and decided to go with some really nice bright colors. So here we go. We're putting this first one up, making it into a diamond, and I decided to repeat the diamond shapes. And so here we are adding the second diamond and flipping those over, bringing it down into position. And I do have to reposition some of these a little bit later, as you'll see as we get into the video. But here you can see I'm also adding a little texture by kind of moving them in and out and, you know, making them to where, you know, there's a little bit of texture in that entrance area. And I also changed that up a little bit, lining them up there to make sure they're pretty close to even, pretty close to, you know, centered and everything else. And at first I went for these kind of bright colors, yet kind of flat. As you'll see, these are like the greens and blues, and that'll change a little bit as we go on. So one of the things you want to think about when building your park entrances is, can it fit the theme that I'm doing, or can it fit just any kind of theme? That way, you know, some people don't plan their parks out as far as, well, this is going to be only a Western park, only an aquatic park, that kind of thing. And, you know, you generally want to put in different lands, as most of the bigger Disney parks have, or even some of the other non-Disney parks have. They have themed areas, and so you want an entrance that'll kind of fit any of those types of parks. And here you can see I'm just repositioning a little bit, just kind of getting things into place before I kind of settle them into their final spots where they're going to live on this main entrance area. And so, as I was saying, this park entrance, I decided to go with something bright, colorful, and something that'll fit anything. It's kind of playful, kind of, you know, generic, but at the same time, you know, if you add your own embellishments, and you'll see I add some things later that'll kind of add to the theme, you'll see that it takes on a little bit of life, especially toward the end of the video. So here, I was trying to get these to rotate because the bottoms looked a little weird, you know, see how they have those kind of weird shapes, but for whatever reason, they don't rotate. I'm not sure why. In the end, I just decided, well, you know, it's not a big deal. I'm going to put some other stuff around it anyway, so it's not going to make too much of a difference. And here I kind of went back and forth a little bit, just trying to make sure I got things right. And then I decided to go ahead and copy the theme from the edges here, and let's put some more truss in there. They call it beveled wall pillars, but these are actually like truss. They use these generally for, in big shows and things where you put up lights and, speakers and things like that. And they're very, very strong, which is great for a structure like this. You want it to be strong and at the same time nice and light. I didn't want to build a really thick, heavy entrance. I wanted to build something nice and light, something that, gives it a nice feel of just openness and just a nice light feel. That's basically how I'm going to say it, light feel. So here it is. We're going across here, getting this truss or beveled wall pillars, as they're called in the game, and just kind of getting those into place. And I do make a few little adjustments as we go, and that one kind of showed through and it didn't quite line up right, so I took a shorter piece, scaled it, as you'll see here in a moment, and got it to fit just right to where it's almost not noticeable that that it had a slightly off look to it at the end there, where it didn't quite meet up the way I wanted it to. But anyway, I probably should have just flipped it over, right? But I didn't think about it at the time, and you can always fix that later when it's in your park. And here I struggled a little bit trying to get this into the right place, but I finally did, and now that is matching on both sides. So kind of filling in things a little bit comes a little bit later in the video, and here I think I did actually fill this part. Yeah, I did fill this part here at the bottom of the curved area to get it across, and I did have to scale that down a bit. And boy, isn't scaling one of the greatest things they've added to Planet Coaster 2? I mean, it really makes a difference, because scaling just allows you so much more flexibility than Planet Coaster 1. Now, there were advantages to Planet Coaster 1, but I overall think Planet Coaster 2 is finally hitting where it needs to be. And here you can see a little glitch, by the way. I just saw this, where every time I tried to copy and move it, for whatever reason, it disappeared. So I had to recopy another section and move it over. Not sure if that's just, something they'll fix later or what. But anyway, the advantages in Planet Coaster 2 just add so much more flexibility overall. And I think that Planet Coaster 2 is just about getting to the point where it's about time for us to start getting some DLCs. And I know that it was kind of leaked that the spooky theme is coming back. And I hope so, toward the end of summer, just before the Halloween spooky season comes along. And I'm hoping not just for the regular DLC, the spooky DLC that we've seen before. I'm hoping that it'll be the same pieces, but more, a little bit more of just, not just spooky, but maybe a fall theme, more fall colored things, the autumn weather type stuff, where we'll see those kinds of things, hopefully. I know there were some autumn colored things like trees and different things that were included in Planet Coaster 1, but I'd really like to see them go further. And here you can see I'm changing the color palette a little bit and just adding a little more of that vibrancy to it. And I think that makes a bigger difference later, especially toward the end of the video, which you'll see when we get to where I really start adding all the things that make a park entrance just look great. And here I was just kind of going back and forth on, what do I put in there? Well, a planter would be great, but there we go. We got this one. I'm going to scale it up, put it down into the ground a little bit, and we're going to put some nice colorful things in there. And I went through a few different things trying to decide, what am I going to put in there? Rocks, or maybe and when I was thinking rocks, I was thinking maybe a couple of fountains. I can build a rock fountain. But for whatever reason, water doesn't look so great at night under lights in Planet Coaster yet. I think it's just because it's maybe difficult to get a lot of reflection off the water, so it doesn't quite look real. So I decided to just go for something that's easy to light at night, and decided to go for plants and trees. These plants are what I started with. I thought maybe a tropical type plants for the entrance, but then I was like, well, that's a little too well, it's kind of stuck with one theme, right? Tropical. So I decided to go a little bit different and went for something a little bit less tropical. Here I was still experimenting a little bit and decided that didn't quite look right. It was just, I don't know, those trees are great in certain areas, but not for a main entrance. Then I looked at these ironwoods and was like, wow, that's kind of colorful, but it's not quite what I want. So let's just change that up. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, these flowers don't quite go with it. Not really what I wanted to do. And then I saw these, the rhododendron bush, and decided, yeah, let's go for those. Those look really cool. You know, they're technically bushes, but they look like trees. So let's go with these, and we'll put some stuff on the bottom and make it look really great. So that's what I settled on, and decided, I think I went with ice plant at the bottom. Yeah, ice plant, and just kind of added a few, rotated them around to give them a little bit of difference there so they don't all look the same. And that's one of the tricks you can use. I notice some people, when they're building parks, when they're doing the landscaping, they don't always rotate stuff. And so it makes things look kind of like repetitive. So you always want to try to rotate your stuff. And as you'll see, I'm adding all these things and then just rotating everything as I add it in, and it just makes it a little bit better. So even when I copied it and moved it over, you can see I rotated the entire thing to make it look a little bit different than the other side while still matching up. That way we have a little symmetry and it looks great. So here I turned it dark because I wanted to work on lighting, and lighting is what really adds magic at night. And so I really spend a lot of time on lighting in this game. I know there are some folks that like to put really super bright lights everywhere, but when you go to a theme park, I want you to look around the next time you go to a really good theme park. And I'm not talking about like your county fairs or your carnivals and things like that. I'm talking about your really heavily themed theme parks, like Disney theme parks. And you'll notice that the lighting isn't super bright. It's very atmospheric. And so I tend to use a lot of that, like uplighting here, which highlights the texture or shape of the thing that it's shining on. And so here I'm adding some lights, and it adds a little bit of color and shape, and just kind of accentuates everything a little bit more. And here I think it started raining in the game, and at some point I went in there and turned the weather off. I love the weather in the game. It is so cool that we finally have that, but while I'm building it, it was a little bit of a distraction, so I did end up turning that off just so you could kind of really see what I'm doing. And again, I do have this at night, and you know, normally I would keep it really bright, but I do like to have the lights off at night when I'm going through and setting lighting so I can see how it's going to look when it's finished. And here I'm throwing in some of these spotlights, changing the color to a nice soft warm light that's nice and welcoming and inviting to light up the inside of that, so as people are walking up from either side, they'll see that bright light. And I actually think that I made it so that you can only see it from the front a little bit later. Here I'm adjusting these because they were kind of showing through the bottom, and ended up moving those just so that they would be out of sight, and I readjusted that one to cover that whole wall there. And so when people are walking up, they'll be able to see that nice, warm, inviting light in there as I add more lights to the exterior here. And I kind of struggled a little bit with what kind of lights do I want to put here? Is it going to work right? Is it going to give me the look that I want? And here I went with these fluorescents, but decided, you know, I don't want these fixtures to be visible. You know, you don't often have visible fixtures, and when you do, they're generally colored in such a way that they don't really show. And here I was experimenting with angles and where the lights would go before I decided, you know, it would just look kind of weird if we didn't have anything else up there besides lights. So here you can see I'm just kind of messing with them a little bit more. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And at some point here, you'll see I decided, I got it. I know what I'm going to do to make this entrance look right. And after I get done going through all these lights, I probably should have cut this a little bit shorter here, you know, but I did end up doing something here that you'll see in just a couple of minutes. And, you know, you'll see how it ended up turning out. By the way, those of you who are watching this shortly after the upload, it is the July 4th weekend here in the US, so for those of you who are going to celebrate that, please be safe out there. Don't go too crazy with, you know, the 4th, and you know, be careful out there with the fireworks and all. There's where I turned off the rain. Uh, I didn't really want rain falling in the middle of the video being filmed, so here is where I decided, you know what? I know what this park needs. I know what this entrance needs, and so I realized this is what I can do. I can put up a sign that says welcome, and right behind that sign, I can hide my lights to uplight those shapes at the top, because I was having trouble, as you saw earlier, getting those lights to shine just right and light up everything without the fixtures being fully visible in the middle of everything. And you can see I went through a few different types of text here that I wanted to make and decided not to go with any of those. So I decided to not use the text that comes with it. As you can see, it looks a little, well, it doesn't look quite right. You know, it fits the sign and it curves with it and everything, but decided not to go with that. So what I did decide to do is, I thought these were more customizable as far as the font, but apparently not. And then I looked at, oh wait, that's fireworks, right? It took me a minute to realize you have to search by the word text, and you have to do it in the 3D letters here. So I finally found what I was looking for, pulled out the letters, and started lining them up and realized, man, that's going to be really, really big. So I scaled it down a bit and added the color to add some contrast and to make it kind of match the theme of the entire entrance. So here I'm putting these letters in place, and what I generally like to do is scale them all down to the same size. And there I had forgotten what size I had scaled it to, so I kind of matched it up. And then line up the letters to the bottom of the curve there, just to kind of get them, you know, pretty close to the right place where they're going to need to be. And ended up, in the end, moving it around a little bit and just readjusting the letters a little bit later to make them the right curvature and the right centering for the sign itself. But I really like these letters. These make a huge difference. It's so much better than those default fonts that come with the game, and having to make those fonts kind of look halfway decent. It's cool that they have the ones that you can edit now, the fonts and all that, you know, doing the horizontal or the vertical. But I think for myself anyway, I'll be using these a lot more often. The only problem with these is they don't scale down quite as small as I would like. So if you know a trick to do that, to scale those down a little bit smaller, I would really, really appreciate it if you could kind of drop that in the comments below. And if you like this video, by the way, please subscribe, hit that bell notification, because I'm going to be uploading as regularly as I can, doing all kinds of things in Planet Coaster 2. I have some upcoming videos where we're going to do a mine train that's coming up. I think next is in my queue is building the mine train attraction, and we're going to get really detailed in the landscaping, the lighting, the everything, and we're going to build it as realistically as possible. And then I've got a go-kart ride that I'm going to build, and some other things. So just make sure that you're subscribed so you can watch those when they come up. And here I was going ahead and lighting this up, and as you can see, that sign looks a whole lot better now, and at night looks very, very bright and vibrant. On this part, I decided that the lighting fixtures would be okay to show, you know, to be visible as long as they matched the banner that the lighting is on. But then after I kind of got through this, I'm like, wow, man, those are so big though. And then realized, well, why don't I just scale those down and move them where I want them, rather than putting multiple lights all over the place. And that's where I figured out I could scale them down. And so I put a few of them up there, got them into place, as you'll see in a moment here, where they are actually where I want them to be, like that. I don't think I ended up using that fixture though, did I? I don't remember. We'll just have to watch and see. I may have left those up there and then scaled them down. That's what I did right there. So I scaled them down as small as they would go, and just put a few of them up there, and it looks pretty good. You know, it probably could be better, but it doesn't look bad, and it's nicely brightly lit now. And I did take off, I think I took off those ones on the side. I may not have. I may have left those up there. I think I did because the edges of the sign weren't lit up enough. And so I added some more uplights up here, and I'll end up moving those again later. I did leave them on there, but I do move them and change the color because I didn't notice at the time that I'd left it 2 different tones. I usually like warm light, but on those pillars, the brighter light looked a lot better. And then I matched them all up to the poles here, as you can see, so that they're all the same color. I just copied and pasted the hex code into there so that they were all exactly the same without having to guess. And here I am looking around and decided to go inside and turn those to where they turn on only at night. Later on, I think I tried that with some of the other lights, and for some reason they wouldn't turn on at night, and it may have been something I did, operator error, but I ended up, I think, putting everything on a loop later. But you can adjust those as needed once you download this blueprint. And again, the blueprint share code is in the description below. Just take it over to the Frontier Workshop to Planet Coaster 2, plug it into the search, and you will find my other creations as well. Again, I have a Latte Love Main Street coffee shop in there. I've got some window decorations that I made, a Western shop that I made before the Western DLC, or I'm sorry, before the Western update was given to us. So I made it with Viking stuff, and it turned out pretty good. It turned out to be a pretty good little Western shop. And then I've got a few other things in there too. An Italian ice cream shop that's very colorful, and some other things. So go check that out. And make sure you get as many of those as you would like. And you can see here I was messing with the lights and tried to use those smaller uplights, but they didn't quite provide enough, so I went with the bigger spotlights, buried them underground, and that gave those rhododendron bushes a really nice bright light on them. So here you can see we've got our lights in place for the most part, and there are some more that I'll add later and move around a little bit. Here I think I was going to add, what did I do here? Oh yeah, I copied the sign and moved it over, but this time without the text on it. I had a little trouble here. I was going to put "thank you for visiting" with these letters, but it was just too crowded, as you'll see here in a moment. That's why I wish these would scale just a little bit smaller, you know, like to where I could have made it say "thank you" in big letters, which was my original plan, and then underneath I was going to make the letters smaller and say "for visiting us," or no, I was going to put "thank you for visiting" at the top, and underneath I was going to put "we hope to see you again soon," or something like that, or "return again soon, visit us again soon," something like that. But what I ended up doing is I think I just, what did I put up there? I don't remember. We'll have to see at the end of the video. It's going to be just as much a surprise to me as it is to you. So, for those of you watching, tell me down below, what do you think we need to see more of in Planet Coaster 2? What do you think you like the most? What do you like the least? What do you think are some of the best improvements, and some things that could still use quite a bit more improvement? What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Also, if you have any ideas for rides or entrances or shops or anything else that you would like to see me build, just remember I am going to share everything that I build in the workshop, in the Frontier Workshop. So anything I build, I will share there. You'll get the share codes in the videos. So if you have any ideas you would like me to build, maybe you're not the greatest builder, or you just don't have the time, or you would like to just use some stuff that I built, feel free to just put it down in the comments what you would like me to build, and I will put that in the queue, and eventually hopefully we'll get to all of it and build the things that you would like to have, and we'll get you all set up and you can download those and use them in your parks. So again here, I thought, well, maybe if I just use the built-in text tools on the sign, and again, it just didn't look right. None of these fonts look right, and they just didn't do what I wanted to do. And so I wasn't able to get the text to do what I wanted. And then I looked at these letters here and I thought, well, maybe these are smaller, and they are slightly smaller if I scale them all the way down, But as you can see, when I try to do thank you for visiting, it just wasn't small enough. It would have looked a little weird, I think, if I had left them that size. And so I went ahead and went through the whole thing and put up these letters, scaled them down, tried to get them in the right place. Sorry about that. You could probably hear my Apple Watch going off in the background. I went ahead and got these where I wanted them, and got them to fit the curve of the bottom of the banner here. And I don't know, maybe it would have looked okay. Let me know what you think. Would that have looked okay if I had left this down here once I got it all lined up and in place? I don't know. I think it's just a little too big, and it didn't quite fit in a way that looked great. I don't know. Well, you tell me. I think that's just a little too big. But again, if we could figure out a way to get these letters a little smaller, or if maybe Frontier can work on it and make it to where we can scale those down more, or if you know how to scale them down more, I'd really appreciate it. And I may have left it like that. I don't know. I can't remember. I actually built this a couple of days before making this video, so I don't remember what I did on that. Here I'm adding more lighting here and making it a little more subtle for the exit, because the exit, you don't want it to be brilliantly lit from the inside of the park. You want it to be a little more subtle as people are exiting. And here I decided to fill in the back side of this. I don't know why. Looking back, I probably would not have filled it in. I would have left it open kind of like the front side, but I thought maybe it looked a little weird without copying over those diamonds and bringing them back to this side. But again, I wanted the exit to be a little more subtle than the entrance, and so I left that out. You can put it back in if you'd like, and bring the diamonds over, copy them back over to this side if you like. But what I was hoping to do, and I ended up experimenting with it, and it didn't quite work out. I messed with a bunch of different screen sizes, and then tried to go into Photoshop and make different type size of signs that would fit on a video screen, and then I tried to get the video screen to fit in there the way I wanted it to, and it's just a little complicated. All right, so here we go. We have our lighting going in here on the back side now. For some reason, these lights don't show when the game is paused, and I didn't realize I had it paused, and so that's why I had to put those on loop. I didn't realize that they turned off during the day, and then when I started the game again at night, the game being paused, didn't realize that those lights needed to be on, so I ended up having to go and do all this again. Anyway, my mistake. That's operator error. Here you can see the entrance is really starting to take shape now, and here's where I got those lights and moved them down a bit, and that lit up a little bit more of those poles there, and then I scaled them down so they wouldn't look quite so silly, being kind of huge. I'm glad, oh gosh, I'm so glad of scaling. I know I've said that a bunch of times in this video, but I really am so glad that they added scaling to this game. It makes all the difference in the world for everything. So here I'm getting the lighting, decided to move some up there as well to light up the top a little bit more so it wouldn't be quite so boring, and went ahead with a nice soft welcoming orange light. And again, that just lights up the top of the entrance a little more and makes it a little more vibrant and welcoming as people are coming in at night. And here in the daytime, you can kind of see what it looks like a little bit more. I think I was going to go ahead and move it into place here, but there was something else I think I added later. Oh no, that's it. That's what I did here. I went over here and I added the landscaping in right here. That's what I did. And so I decided, well, it's going to look weird, kind of flat. So I put in a little bit of texture here on one side, and and smoothed it out a little bit. Added some other things here. You can see I kind of experimented with different plants and bushes and textures until I decided finally on what would look right. These rocks look great in there, so I went in there and put those in to add a little texture right at the bottom, and without messing too much with the color in the area. And then I end up putting some plants and flowers, bushes, And you'll see I do change them up a little bit after I get them put in. I started with these ferns, and then some of the smaller rhododendron bushes, put those in there. And I think I added some of the other kinds of ferns and different things in there and ended up removing them. Here I was deciding what tree do I want right there? And I thought olive tree, that looks great. But I was like, nah, a little more color. And then I found the mimosa tree, and thought that looks great. Rotated it till it looked just right, and there it is right there. It looks awesome. And I had another idea that you'll see I add to it later. Here I put in some rose bushes and some other little plants. I think those are what, garlic plants or something like that. And then I added ice plant in the front just for a little bit of color. And then here's where I kind of experimented with different things. Here's where I painted in some of the ground there, and I added 3 different textures. I put in the prairie, and then some long grass and a little bit of moss, and that kind of added a little bit of color and texture to it, rather than just dirt and rock and grass. And then I wanted to put this guy in here, King Coaster, and decided I wanted to go for this one. Yep. Looks a whole lot better than the one that's just all white. Got him into place right under the shade of the tree, and I was going to put a Mrs. Coaster in there, Mrs. King Coaster, Queen Coaster, and couldn't find one that looked like that. It was just the water theme, so I left her out, unfortunately. And here you can see I was experimenting a little bit. Do I put rocks around him? And then decided on flowers. So here you can see I kind of messed with it a little bit with the rocks and decided that wasn't it. Even scaled down, it just didn't look right. And so went with flowers. And here is where I started kind of messing with these, putting the foxglove in there, and ended up really not liking the way it looked. So these will come out later, and some of the plants in front will change. These right here, I put these in the little flower beds, and then just scaled them up a little bit to add a little color and size in there, and then obviously rotated each one again just to have a little bit different look for each one. Here's where I messed with some of the bracken ferns. I didn't really like the way they looked in there, so I ended up taking these out. It just looked messy to me. It just didn't look right. It just didn't look right at all. So then I started adding some more of these arrowwoods and didn't like that either. And so I took all that out, took a bunch of stuff out right here, copied some more of the roses over, gave those a little bit of a twist, and then put more stuff in here. Those foxgloves, I believe, do come out in a minute here. And yeah, took all that out. Decided it didn't look right. So redid that, put in some more of these little rhododendron bushes, and I thought that looked a whole lot better. It just kind of matched what I already had and added a lot of texture and color that I really liked. Decided not to change the color of the flowers. I liked the purple against the red, and again, kind of matches the theme that we have here at the entrance. And boy, my camera just went crazy right there. I don't know, it was a little too sensitive. Now, here's something I've noticed about the game. When you try to change the texture here and you paint over it, it makes weird lines in there. I don't know if that's something in the update or what. That never happened in Planet Coaster 1, so I'm not sure if that's a bug or an unintended feature. So I did my best to kind of clean it up a little bit. You know, I didn't want to have to redo the entire entrance area. I just kind of wanted to get the video done and put up for you on YouTube. So you can always fix that up later. In fact, I don't think I included that part of it. I think I just included the ground that's underneath the actual entrance, so you won't have to worry about it. Here I'm adding lighting at night or in the late morning, early evening, something like that. I like the golden hour to set these lights here just so I can see what it would look like at golden hour. You're coming into the park, and here I'm doing complementary colors of orange and blue, and tend to stand out really nice against each other and make a really nice look, along with adding color. And I think I actually went purple there, so violet. So here I put in the green to kind of go off the violet, and that made those little bushes and things stand out a bit more. And then I added some blue on another section here as we get toward that. You'll see where I put some blue in there. over those rhododendrons, which make the purples and pinks in those flowers really pop. So here it is during the day and at night. And remember, build bigger, build bolder, and may your dreams become your reality. We'll see you in the next episode of Plan Co. Playbook.